Well, peace cannot mean the surrender of Ukraine. That was the message from the French President Emmanuel Macron as he warned Donald Trump at the White House and presented him with the European perspective. Macron, though, saying that talks with the US President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have shown a path forward. The two leaders saying there is progress on the idea as well of sending peacekeepers to Ukraine, although Macron insisted that the US must give security guarantees for Kyiv.
Top priority is to work together very closely to have a good, solid and sustainable peace in full transparency. Second, it's very important for the Europeans to spend more on defense and security because it will be good for us and our security, good for you to decrease your involvement. And third, we don't need a trade war. We need more prosperity together.
Emmanuel Macron there. Well, let's talk now to Dave Keating, our correspondent who joins us from Brussels, and here in the studio, Geta Van Gordestani, our international affairs editor. Dave, I'm going to start with you. Europe really trying to get its message across to Donald Trump, and if you like, Emmanuel Macron was that first salvo there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Europeans will have been quite encouraged by the words spoken at that press conference last night. The issue is that both of the presidents were making assertions about what other people are saying that don't necessarily seem to be borne out by reality. So you had President Trump saying that Vladimir Putin told him that he would have no problem with European NATO troops being on the ground in Ukraine to enforce any peace deal. That, of course, is the exact opposite of what the Kremlin has been saying. So either Trump was making that up or he betrayed something told to him in confidence by Vladimir Putin, in which case I think the Kremlin will be quite upset about their maximalist position being exposed. So it's unclear why he said that. And then sitting next to him, you had President Macron saying that Trump had told him during the meeting that the U.S. is willing to give security guarantees to any of those European NATO forces in Ukraine. That is, again, the opposite of what the Trump administration has been saying, particularly from Pete Hegseth here in Brussels at NATO a couple weeks ago. And Trump did not confirm that during the press conference, nor did his social media post about the reading or any statements coming from the White House. So it could have been just a lot of words, but the words were encouraging. For the Europeans, it is essential that they get that U.S. cover for committing any German, French, British troops in Ukraine to enforce that peace deal. And they're also insisting on a seat at the table, saying, okay, if you're asking us to enforce this deal, we need to have a seat at the table in crafting it. At the moment, they do not have a seat on the table. And this is a really existential question for Europeans, because the fear is that if those German, French, British troops are in Ukraine and they don't have the Article 5 protection from the U.S. saying to Russia, if you attack those French troops, we will attack you, then Russia will be tempted to indeed attack them. That could start a Russia-EU war in which the United States may not defend Europe. And of course, that would be a catastrophe. So this is really essential. And that's why so many of these European leaders, those that are willing to consider sending their own troops to Ukraine to enforce any peace deal, are saying they cannot do so without security guarantees from the U.S.